Hi, my name is Richard Kharman from the United States, and I'm a fan of FC Schalke 04.
Hi, Richard. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. So, Richard, you wear a couple of hats, man. You've got the SchalkeAmerica podcast, you've got the Syria Sit Down podcast, and where you're playing with Palermo, and you just told me you were playing with Schalke as well. What else? What else have I not mentioned?
Those are just like my hobbies, and I also study languages as a hobby too. I'm a big I'm a polyglot. I'm a linguophile. But those are just my hobbies, right? Because I still have a full-time job. I have a family I'm taking care of, so I stay busy. I rarely have free time, and when I do cherish them. But I'm a busy guy.
You were talking to me about his son last time. How old is he?
He's 2 years old. Yeah, he's running around, and he hasn't quite got into football yet. Still likes all like dinosaurs and stuff. But yeah, he's doing really great, man.
Your job sounds really interesting, man. You just want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, so I'm a senior manager at one of my local park jurisdiction here in the East in Maryland, DC area. It's a big area. I have a lot of parks. I mean, about 100 parks that I got to manage and stuff like that. But it's fun, it keeps me on my toes. Every day something different. When it snows, we got to take care of that stuff. So we got a big snowstorm coming in tomorrow. So getting ready for that as well. It's it's fun. It keeps me on my toes. I love it. Anytime you get to be outside, what is there to complain about, right?
After the year we've had, I guess most people are itching to be outside right now.
Yeah. Anytime you can be outside, not around people, it's a good time, a good thing. Still a little anxious around other people, but that'll fade eventually.
You said you lived in Washington.
Yeah. So I tell everybody I live in Washington D.C. Because everybody knows where that is, right? I actually live just outside of D.C. in Maryland, the state of Maryland, because nobody knows where Maryland is. So I just tell, even in the United States, I tell people where I live in Maryland. They're like, where? So I just say DC, and it's a DC area. So that's all I say.
You guys had a eventful month.
Yeah. That is an understatement. Absolutely, yeah. It's been very interesting times here in where I live right now. So that is absolutely true. Never a dull moment.
How did this all begin with Schalke?
Yeah, it's funny. I really didn't watch much Bundesliga, growing up. There was really no access to it here in the United States. And then I remember, I think around like 2003 or so, we got Goal TV. And so I remember they started, showing Bundesliga games. And the first time I turned it on, I remember vividly because it was Schalke versus Bayer Leverkusen. I didn't know much about either team, I heard their names, in European competitions, but I didn't really get to watch them. But, watching the game, I see that Schalke was at home in this game. They had flags everywhere. It was just amazing, the spectacle, the view. I'm like, I've never seen this before. So much passion. So it's like, you know what? I don't even know who this team is, but I'm going to support them. It turned out to be a heck of a game. I remember, I don't remember what the score. It was a high-scoring game. I remember that, but it was just, I was so impressed by the fans. I didn't even know anything about this team at all. I was like, I'm just going to support them just because the fans. So yeah. That's how it all started with me, and been a fan of Schalke ever since.
When did the podcast start?
So the podcast started actually. It's funny when Huntelaar, who kind of comes full circle, he's now back at Schalke. But when he first left Schalke, 4 seasons ago, that's when I first started doing a podcast. So, at the time I was already doing another podcast, the Serie A podcast, like you mentioned. And I was like, I want to hear more about Schalke in English. And I looked around everywhere, saw a couple Bundesliga clubs, but not about Schalke. And I said, I do podcasts. I'll create one. Why not? And it's kind of steamrolled ever since. And it was fortunate for me. Jack Mangan and I, hooked up around the Riviera Derby, the 4-4 game that first year. And we've kind of been, he's been the co-host ever since. I mean, he does an amazing job. He's got a real radio voice, which is awesome. He's so knowledgeable too. So, having him on board, we've been together for now 4 seasons and going strong, and making new friends along the way, both with the club and in and around it. It's been an amazing journey, honestly. Never thought I'd get to this far. I just wanted to talk about Schalke and look where it's going. So that's great.
Yeah. So you've got listeners from across the globe or mainly America?
We got listeners from over 100 countries in the world. It's amazing. I saw the list the other day, and it just countries I couldn't never thought numbers would reach like that. It's really truly been humbling. The majority of our listeners are from the English speaking countries, obviously, like the United States, Canada, the UK. But also Germany as well, obviously with Schalke. But every continent except for Antarctica. It's truly amazing. We're humbled by how many people listening to us. It's definitely makes us stronger and keeps want to push forward to keep doing more.
What I really like is that you guys still stay quite positive.
Yeah, we have to try to be because so much with football, especially like on Twitter and stuff like that, it's always negative. You got those negative people who are constantly, even when the team is like really good, you could have teams like PSG or United, whatever, and there'll always be negative fans. So we try to stay positive, and especially now when it's most negative, with the club actually potentially getting relegated, we have to stay positive, and there are positives to go with, but it does get harder and harder every week. I mean, I think over the last 4 years, people have really, especially the German community, they really started embracing us because they're like, look, these guys are still here after 4 years. The team's been tough, tough results. They're still here. And so we've been one of the few that's remained positive. And, the Schalke fan group had this big video push where they several games ago where they did all the fans from around the globe doing a really quick snippet and put in one video. And a lot of people pointed out that we've been one of the most vocal, positive noises in the Schalke community, and it's been really amazing. It's hard, obviously, when your team doesn't do well, to continue to talk positive.
Yeah.
But we try to find ways. It's getting harder and harder every week, obviously. But when we win, like we won, not too long ago for the first time in like a year, we were really happy that you could tell people were like, "Oh my God, we forgot what you look like." Happy, like, yeah, we did too.
And I think, wasn't that on your birthday?
Yeah. So Schalke gave me a birthday present by winning, which is amazing. I told everybody that there's no truth to the rumor that we agreed on something off-scene that they would win on my birthday. But that was a really nice birthday present, honestly. So, it's been tough ever since then. So maybe I need a birthday every day now. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you ask any longtime Schalke fan. I mean, probably the unanimous decision is going to be Klaus Fischer is one of the favorites, in history. But in terms of my from when I became a fan, some of the names that have stuck with me, the reasons why I like the club also as much as I do now. Marcelo Bordon, who was a central defender from Brazil. Kevin Kharman, Asamoah, Huntelaar, Raul. These are just some of the guys that there's so many. But those are some of the main guys that, every time when they were playing, it was just like amazing to watch. Other players, there's so many other players too, but no, those are the main ones that, made you fall in love with the club even more. And, man, it just, watch guys like that. Every club has their core of, every player, every fan has those core players that they really just bring them to the club. And those were the ones who did it for me.
Yeah. Huntelaar, who's at the end of his career coming back to Schalke, I think that's really special, man. And even Kolasinac, who's come back now for the rest of the season. So what are your thoughts on that? What's the feeling, among the fans and, generally?
The fans love it, absolutely, because both those players hold a special place in our hearts. Schalke really is a community, a family, and it shows by both those players saying, hey, I want to go back and try to help this club stave off relegation. Huntelaar, who's going to retire, he told everybody he's going to retire. And he could have just stayed with Ajax for his last 6 months, right? A team that's first place, who's doing so well. But no, he said, hey, I got 6 months to go before I retire. I'm going to go back to a club that I love and try to if I can do anything to help them survive, I'm going to do it. Kolasinac is the same way. He's someone who said, tear up my Arsenal contract. Let me go to Schalke and try to help them out. So it means a lot to the fans. And then, just to see the last several years have been tough, and so any kind of semblance of the past that can help, right, the fans are looking for it. And then obviously having Hoop Stevens come in every now and then during those years helped, but seeing Huntelaar and Kolasinac, it gives the fans a little bit more hope. Hoping that maybe these two guys and maybe a couple others can help push the team back over the edge to stay in the league. But we'll see. It's still early. It's they just arrived within the last couple of weeks, so. They need some time to get. There's not much time left, but then they need some time to get their feet back wet and hopefully get more pitch time.
Player or players who you think deserved a lot more praise?
Probably the two players that probably jump out to my mind are two players who had, or maybe they still do have, but they had amazing skill set. Jefferson Farfan, the Peruvian. What a fantastic winger he was. He was so consistent. I mean, he was probably the most consistent player I've ever seen for Schalke. It seems like from the beginning to the end of his career with the club. And another player actually is Lincoln, Brazilian. Both those players were so skilled on the ball. Different type of players, right? So Farfan is a winger, but his ability to cross the ball in and dribble and all that stuff is amazing. And then you got Lincoln, who's an attacking midfielder, a 10. The way he can just pull the strings, do the perfect passes in the middle to free up the strikers like Kharman. Both those players are just so special. And I know obviously all the Schalke fans, they adore those players. They always talk about them. But outside of the club, maybe some Bundesliga fans, but definitely in the world stage, you don't hear as much praise for those players. Even at the World Cup, I mean, at the end of his career, people started mentioning Farfan with Peru, but they really didn't say much about him. And then Lincoln, with some of the great Brazilian teams that we had in the early 2000s and late 2000s, Lincoln didn't really get a run on the team because there's so many other good players. I mean, world-class players like Ronaldinho. So he never got a sniff on the team. So not many people knew about him as well. So, I mean, I think those two players were just phenomenal players. And unfortunately, they never got the due that they deserved, I think.
Young players who you're looking forward to seeing more of?
At the start of the season, the easy answer, well, one of the guy who we were fortunate enough to interview on the podcast was Nick Tatigui, a young American. Anytime there's an American in the Bundesliga, especially with Schalke, we want to try to lift him up. Great guy too, but we were hoping that maybe he would get more pitch time and get some first team action. Though, as the season went on with injury and other stuff, the team eventually let him go at the beginning of the winter transfer window. And another player who we had high hopes on was Ahmet Kutucu, Turkish international. And he has immense talent, but for whatever reason didn't get the run out in the first team. So to try not to get his talent go to waste, they did let him go on loan this past January to Heracles Almelo in the Eredivisie. So ever since he's joined the club over there, they've gone on a win streak. I think he had an assist in his first game there, and they've been playing really well ever since he had joined. So that's great to hear. But in terms of the current squad, I'm glad to see Malik Thiaw and Timo Becker get the run out lately, both at right back, at center back. Chan Bazdawan, though, is someone who I really want to see more pitch time of, because he when you see him on the ball, he looks like he's a first team player. He quick reaction, strong on the ball, good passing ability. Has some trickery every now and then, but he hasn't got as much pitch time as he should as well. I mean, there's a lot of guys ahead of him like Harit and Serdar who play in similar positions, but I think Chan Bazdawan has the potential to be a really talented player. I know when he had his first game that he played with, I want to say it's against Bayern or somebody, and many people were impressed with him, but he's still very young. I think he's only like 19 years old. So hopefully he's someone we can see a little bit more of going here future. And also Matthew Hoppe, the American, he's a leading goal scorer at the moment with the club, right? 5 goals in his first 3 games, and then it's cooled down ever since. But I mean, he's still, for someone who's raw as him, he reads the lines very well, reads the play very well, and his finishing ability has been so much better than we thought. We knew that he had some goal scoring ability, especially when he was at the Barca Academy, but that hat trick that he had in his first game, I mean, every finish was just sublime. And hopefully he and Huntelaar can help score some goals for the club and keep this drive to survive, to quote a Formula One, keep him in the Bundesliga. So we'll see. I mean, we're hoping for it. We're hoping for it.
How popular is the Bundesliga in America? You've got a lot of Americans. I'll come to that in a bit, but how popular is it?
Over the last probably from when we started the podcast till now, it's grown like 100-fold. Obviously, having some Americans in the past like Christian Pulisic and McKennie, they help bring people in, but it's growing more and more. And I think the Bundesliga clubs are doing well to establish themselves over here and connect with the local clubs. I know with Schalke, we work with all the local fan groups that are in different cities. I mean, I probably can think of like 10 cities off the top of my head in the US and Canada who have fan clubs, and we're in constant communication with each other. And I think the clubs do really well to reach out to these fan bases. Back in the time before COVID, we would do watch parties and stuff like that. Now it's like Zoom parties. So I think all the Bundesliga clubs do a really good job of reaching out to Americans. They understand that there's a talent pool coming from this generation. And they're really trying to tap into that. And I think the market is the country is wants to be a football country, a European football country. Right now, it's an American football country and a baseball country and stuff like that. But the hunger for the sport is there. You've seen it in some of these areas like Kansas City and some other where it's like so many fans get together and they celebrate, especially when the U.S. men's national team play or the U.S. women's team plays. But it's growing so much, especially with all the Americans like Josh Sargent and all the Americans that are in the Bundesliga currently. And of the two leagues, the two most popular leagues, I would say that Americans feature in, I would say, obviously English in England with the Premier League or with the Bundesliga. So I think what the Bundesliga does as a whole really helps to grow the sport here in the United States.
Yeah, you've got a lot of young American players coming through, man. You've got just in the Bundesliga alone, I can think of some like 5. Hoppe, you mentioned, Reina.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the other guy who's at Werder Bremen.
Josh Sargent. It's just the Bundesliga is a good place to harvest that talent and get to that next level, I think. Some players, I mean, even Erling Haaland, he came here because he knew the Bundesliga was a league that he can develop his skills even further. And the type of play in the Bundesliga is conducive to learning and getting better. And we'll see that with all the young Americans that they are thriving in this type of atmosphere. And as an American, I'm saying I'm excited to see that every time I see an American play and score, hopefully not against Schalke, but when they score, it's exciting to see, because you hope, maybe that's a potential future national team member there. So a lot of good talent right now in the Bundesliga from the American side. Weston McKennie's already with Juventus, so Weston McKennie has done really well at Juventus. Former Schalke player. And then Brian Reynolds, I've heard a lot of good things about him. He's been wanted by a lot of clubs around Europe, and so Roma got him. So hopefully he can do well there as well. So, but yeah, it's and there's still, it's funny. Schalke were known before for signing American players. They've had Haji Wright, obviously Weston McKennie, Nick Tatigui, Matthew Hoppe now. There's a young kid who is not getting as much attention at the moment, who is like only 15 years old, maybe 16. His name's Evan Rotondo. He's got immense skill. He scores a lot of goals. So a lot of people hear about the youngster who's at Dortmund right now, and I forget his name. But he's like 16. He scores a lot of goals. And Evan Rotondo, his like first, I think 5 games, he had something like 15 goals or something like that for the youth team. He's got immense talent. He's got a great family, and he just knows how to score goals and be a playmaker. And I'm excited to see where this kid goes. Give him a year or two, and we might start hearing his name either with the top team or somewhere else. He's got a lot of talent, not only for an American, but just for a player in general. So Evan Rotondo, remember that name. I'm a season ticket holder of DC United. It's a short drive for me, so I'm always at the games. Well, I was. Under the COVID times, it's been difficult because you don't know what the schedules are like sometimes. Even me as a season ticket holder, I don't even know when the games are sometimes. And it's so weird. Like sometimes they let fans in, sometimes they don't. And it's very, very weird. But the league in general has been thriving every year, obviously pre-COVID. They're getting stronger and stronger. The support everywhere. You're seeing all these new teams crop up out of nowhere. FC Cincinnati's one of the newer teams. Inter Miami, even more recent than that. Minnesota United as well. So there's a lot of teams that's sprouting up because the support is there. Like I said, the soccer or football, it's a sport that a lot of people are finally come out to the mainstream saying, this is our sport. We support it. We want to show you how much we support it. And you really notice it obviously in the World Cup, in the World Cup times or big tournament times, because everyone comes together. But the MLS is really growing slowly but steadily, and the talent's getting better and better. And obviously having pulling big stars from Europe or wherever helps a lot to draw names. But the gameplay is getting better and better, and you can see like it shifts where the best teams are. So sometimes LA, sometimes it's in Portland or Seattle or Toronto. It's moving around. It's never in the same spot. It used to be just like DC United would always win, or San Jose or Kansas City. Now it's like you never know really, because there's so many teams. Atlanta won recently, so by the way, it's hard to say Atlanta when I talk about Atalanta all the time. It's difficult. You would think that as an American, Atlanta is hard to say.
But they had a great season. What was it, like 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. They've been 2 years. 2 years ago and the year before that, they were really good, and then they struggled. And I think they're starting to play well again at Atlanta United. But the the model they're doing at Atlanta is really great, which I think all MLS teams should emulate, is because they keep the concession stands low. So like the food and the drinks, they keep them very low so everyone can afford it. More people pay money there, and then that way they don't have to charge so much money for anything. And ticket prices are very low as well. Often seems the trend in world sports is that you just raise the ticket prices every year, right? And Atlanta really tries to keep it, steady so everyone can afford the games, not just the rich. And I think that's a big reason why they get like 50,000 plus fans at every game. Well, they did, not now anymore, but that's what they're selling at their football stadium, which is amazing. They have one of the biggest crowds in MLS. It's very reminiscent of a South American or European soccer game or football game, because so many fans, so many passionate fans are there, and the stadium is amazing.
And I've seen some of those videos, and they seem like really passionate fans.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And it's funny because the American game often gets mocked sometimes because the fans are overzealous sometimes. They celebrate too much, but hey, let them have it. You're passionate. Let someone be passionate. Everyone has their different ways of showing their passion, I think. And so if this is the way they want to, express their passion, let it be. Let them have fun. It doesn't bother me.
A game that left you disappointed and a game that left you elated.
Oh man. So the game that left me elated, in terms of recent times, like it was Schalke. So it was a big Riviera derby 4 years ago. And Dortmund took a 4-0 lead in the first half. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? And then, coming out of the second half, Schalke scored 4 goals, and it almost felt like a win. It ended up being 4-4. But from where they were at halftime to where the game ended, I can't remember being so elated like I was in that game. A comparable game that I was actually at that I held similar feelings to me. I told you I'm a DC United season ticket holder. Wayne Rooney was on the club not too long ago. They brought him over, and I remember a game where I think we were playing Orlando or something like that, and they were up 2-1. We scored a goal, made it 2-2, and then you're in stoppage time, and DC is really trying to score the goal to win, right? Because they need to win to get in the playoffs. Turnover happens. The other team's going down the pitch. The goalie's not even in the goal anymore. So Rooney races back, tackles the guy at midfield, wins the ball, and then just lofts a big cross into the box, and DC United score at the last minute. And it was just an amazing play. And I remember the whole crowd's going, what the heck just happened? It was a really amazing play by Rooney to win it, because if he didn't make that tackle, they're going to go empty net the other way and win the game. So that was, it was a really impressive game for me to be at there. But so those 2 games probably elated. In terms of disappointment, if you're looking at recent memory and you're looking at this season, probably the first game of the season, 8-0 to Bayern. A team who just came off the Champions League, Bayern, right? Everyone knows who they are. They're a great club. But if you're not prepared, how can you not be prepared for a club first game of the season when you had weeks to prepare, months to prepare, right? And you come out 8-0. I mean, I was so disappointed in that game because I knew they were going to win. Bayern were, but I'm thinking 3-0, maybe 8-0. I mean, that's unreal. So that left me very, very bitter and very disappointed. I knew that was going to be a long season when I saw that scoreline. I went to South America probably when I was like 12 years old or something like that, right? Okay. And my mother's from Paraguay, and we went to watch a national team game, Paraguay against Ecuador. And you had the top 4 rival fans all at the game at the same time, constantly chanting at each other all game long. It was so amazing to see. I mean, they're obviously celebrating the national team, but they were chanting at each other during the game, taking turns. It was so awesome to see. You get the great food, and then you got all the club fanatics, yelling at each other. It was so fun, and you learn all these songs. It was really a really awesome moment for me. I would love to see Super Clasico with Boca Juniors and River Plate or San Lorenzo or any of those Argentine games. Just South American football in general. It looks, that's really crazy passion there. You watch some of the games from the Bombadero, and you got streamers everywhere. The field's littered with stuff. Even that, or one of the derby games in Istanbul, either Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, or Besiktas. It's just amazing to watch those kind of games where just so much support, so much passion. It's like it makes you really, that's why you really love the sport, just to watch moments like that, and just to get a taste of it one day. It'll be amazing.
Serie A is also something that you are passionate about, and you do the Serie A sit down podcast.
Yeah. So another team I support is AC Milan. Milan to mostly everybody else. Yeah, it's another team that just for me with a team. Honestly, the reason I kind of fell for them is their colors. I just like the colors red and black. I remember, and I didn't know anything about the team, and I just started following them because of that. And it's I've been fortunate to meet like Clarence Seedorf, which is an amazing experience there. Really nice guy. It's funny because with AC Milan, Italian has always been a big passion. Italian's really what got me to learn languages. I always had this passion about everything Italian. So when, supporting AC Milan, obviously the food, the women, the culture, everything, it really got me wanting to learn the language. And that was like the first language outside of, English and Spanish that I learned. And so that really got me on my path to where I am now. But, just getting to support them. It's, I've been fortunate enough at least to visit, the San Siro. I did this whole big European trip many years ago by myself, and I got to visit San Siro, got to visit Camp Nou in Barcelona. Supposed to go to Gelsenkirchen at that time, but I ended up making a detour and going to other places like to Amsterdam. So, but San Siro, what an amazing stadium! I mean, that and Camp Nou, I'll never forget those two stadiums. They're just so epic, and got to go in the dressing rooms, and those are fond memories for me for sure. But definitely, as an AC Milan fan, to be in the Mecca for them, it was really an experience I'll never forget.
So I just realized something. Your clubs are at either end of the table.
Yeah, and it's funny because I apparently also like to support teams that give me heartache. Obviously, Milan give me enough heartache, but they're top of the table right now. Schalke at the bottom. I also support Southampton. They just lost 9-0 the other day. So I like to support clubs that give up a lot of goals. I guess I'm a lover of being bruised and battered. I guess I don't know, but the teams are on opposite sides, and it seems like whenever one of the clubs does well, the other one does poorly, and so I can never get them on the same at the top or whatever. So I guess it's better not having all of them at the bottom. AC Milan's doing very well at the table right now, and what I wouldn't pay to take some of their points and give it to Schalke right now.
You think they're gonna win? A lot of people are hoping that they do.
I mean, if you, I don't like to. I just tell people like, hey, if they get top 4, that's what their goal should be, right? Yeah. They need to get back in the Champions League, get the money. Would I love them to win? Yeah, absolutely. But I know there's at least two clubs for sure that are very strong. Like Milan are doing, far above expectations. All their young players are playing exceptionally well. But you got two teams, Inter and Juventus. Right. Juventus has won the last 9. Inter has just such a deep team. They got really fantastic players. And they're at least with Inter, they have a manager who's been there before. You always wonder if the other shoe is going to fall. Mm-hmm. Zlatan is 39 years old. Simon Kjaer is 34. How long can these guys keep it up? So if they win it, I'll be just happy as anybody else. But I keep telling everybody the goal should be top 4. That's going into the season. That was the goal. Zlatan had different goals. He wanted to win the Champions League or win the Scudetto. I think a reasonable expectation was top 4, and they're far succeeding that at the moment. But I want to see anybody but Juventus win, just because I'd like to see variety. Even the hated rivals in Inter, you hate to see them win, but I still would want them to win, because you want to see somebody different win, give somebody else a chance, or Roma or somebody.
Cautiously,
a big part of me is hoping they win.
Cautiously optimistic.
There it is. Cautiously optimistic. Just like I am with Schalke. Cautiously optimistic that we'll stay in the Bundesliga. It's getting harder.
Around the same time that Nagelsmann was on the scene, you guys had Dominic Tedesco.
Yeah.
He was doing really well. He had 2 great seasons. Didn't you guys come second in one of those seasons, his first season?
Yeah, that was the year that they went 4-4, and they went 4-4 against the River Derby. Yeah, they finished second in the league. They beat Dortmund. They lost Bayern obviously won the league, but they played really well that season under him, and I always liked him. He still holds a special place in the hearts of Schalke fans, because he understood the passion that the fans had for the club, and he always tried to support with that. He would go into the stands and cheer with the fans after games. They had a string of results where they had to let him go, because they were losing to teams they shouldn't. I mean, obviously losing to Manchester City 7-0 is not good, but they also lost to some teams that they shouldn't have lost to. So like Nuremberg, Mainz, and some other clubs where they lost like 3-4-0. They're like, okay, after like 5 games in a row, the poor results, they're like, we had to let him go, which is unfortunate because I think he tactically, I mean, he was first in his class. Nagelsmann's doing so well, and Tedesco actually finished higher than him in his class. And what you're seeing now, Tedesco's over at Spartak Moscow and doing very well. He's taken a club, and his club has been, top 2, top 3 the last couple of years. And he was voted as #1 manager last year in the league, and many fans are hoping that he comes back to Germany at least. And I mean, I would love to see him at Schalke at some point again. But yeah, he's a fantastic manager, and there's a lot of young managers that are German that are doing quite well. And so it's exciting to see when you see great minds like that start to perform. But Nagelsmann's obviously the one everyone talks about because his teams are brilliant every time. He just knows how to line them up, and every big team wants him, and for good reason, right?
Because of Klopp's success, now even Tuchel coming to Chelsea, even Hasenhüttl. I mean, you really can't judge him by those 2 games. I think he's a fantastic coach, man. Yeah. They play some amazing football.
Yeah, it's starting to get noticed now. I think Klopp certainly helped with that. His success at Liverpool really made or break whether the rest of the German contingent were going to have success or get a chance, an opportunity. And the fact that he's done so well at Liverpool, everybody else is like, okay, let's see what's in Germany. Let's see if their managers are really that good. I mean, there's also Austrian ones are really good as well. Marco Rose, who's at Gladbach, he's also another one who's a really big and up-and-comer, and obviously you got Ralf Rangnick as well that people talk about because he knows how to develop teams as well. So yeah, a lot of eyes are in Germany right now. And probably a lot of it has to start with Joachim Löw, what he's done with the national team. But, Klopp, I think, is the big instigator with all that. His success led to everybody else's opportunities, I think. And yeah, what a fantastic manager he is, right? Who doesn't like to watch Klopp? Even if you hate him, you hate the club, hate Liverpool, you like Klopp is just amazing. Come on.
I think he's one of those managers who rarely says something horrible at the end of the game. Yeah. Even when they lose, he's so gracious in his praise for players, and generally.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes it so much better, right? Sometimes you see like Mourinho has his haters and lovers because he'll bash you at the end of the game. But what endears Klopp to so many people is because he is very genuine, he's very nice, and very humble. So. And then he also likes to have fun too, right? So Klopp is a really unique character. He's the what does he call himself? The normal one.
In some games, I feel like he's almost like a fan watching on the sidelines.
Running around, jumping.
You can see it on his face.
Yeah.
Like, and even if it's the other team that's doing well. He's sort of taking it in as a guy who loves football. Yeah, absolutely. That's what's great to see. And sometimes you see that from other managers who are normally stoic, and then every now and then they break their mold. So like Zidane, he's very stoic on the sidelines, right? But every now and then, if there's a really nice goal from either team, he's like, so they know, they played the game, and so they understand when goals happen that are really difficult, and they get them. So it's nice to see the actual proper response by one of these managers who are fans. They try to hide themselves a little bit more than they normally are, I guess. But Klopp, you can't hide him. He wears his sleeves on his face, or wears his reactions on his face, I guess I should say. So how did you meet Seedorf? It wasn't by accident, I'll tell you. So I knew that Milan was doing a American tour, and they were actually playing against DC United. And so a buddy of mine from Slovenia, he's like, hey, I know the team is staying. And if you want to go, we can try to go. Maybe we'll see some players. I was like, yeah, why not? It's before the game. Why not? I remember it was like several hours before the game, really early in the day. And so we went out there, and the team arrived from practice. And so we're sitting out there, and Seedorfer's out there just drinking coffee while the rest of the team was coming off the bus. He just walking by, and I was like, oh, hey, I started talking to him and got to talk to him in Italian, and really nice guy, really nice, very humble. And I just said, I just want to say hi and, thanked him for being an amazing player, blah, blah, blah. And then that was all I needed, He accommodated me for those couple minutes, whatever. And that's something I'll remember forever. So
You know,
Wonderful.
had he acted like an a-hole or something like that, I may have disliked him. You know, you've heard us stories. I've actually met some like American football players where that happened. You know,
Oh.
no, those were accidents, and still negative reactions have a big impact on you. So no, Seedorf was very gentlemanly like, very professional like. So yeah, that's how we met him.
So what has it meant to you? What has it brought to you in your life?
A sense of community, I think, right? Obviously, you get the happiness moments, the sad moments as well, but getting to experience the games with other fans who also support the same club. Especially the last 4 years, I got to do the podcast and I got to meet and talk to people from all over the world. You get a sense of community that the world is maybe not as big as you think, and there's a lot of people who have similar likes and dislikes as you do, and it just makes you feel as a human race that we're that much closer together, and so that sense of community, at least with the Schalke community, it's so tight knit, and to be able to have just a moment with them is just a great experience, and they help you when times are that rough, and when things are going well, everybody supports each other. So the community has been the biggest thing for me, I think, which I never would have thought, as a youngster being a fan of sports, that's what would be the end result. But for me, getting to experience having the same emotion with so many people from around the world, that it doesn't make you feel like we're so small anymore, or it's such a big place. It's like we're all basically neighbors. We're just a little bit further apart than others.
Richard, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you, man. It's always fun to talk about football.
Yeah, great speaking to you. I hope you had some fun.
Absolutely. I had a lot of fun. I love talking football, but it's really fun talking with you, man. I'm glad we did. So thank you for having me on.
I'll be hitting you up for some tips, man. You're a I love the whole
good tips or bad tips. I'll try to do my best. How about that?
No, I really do. I love the setup that you have for both the podcasts and the graphics and everything. It looks really cool and really slick, and you guys do a wonderful job.
It took several years to get to this point. We're all in the same journey at just different points of the journey, right? So I was in your boots several years ago, and then eventually you'll be in my position, be somebody else in your position. So we're all constantly learning and try to just do a little bit better every time, right? And so anything I can do to help is absolutely my pleasure.
Thanks, man. Thanks again, Richard.
Thank you. All right, man. Take care. I got the new football manager. That's what it was. I also started a game with Schalke on there. So I want to put that on the YouTube page.
You doing any better than Schalke is actually?
I'm doing a lot better than Schalke. Jeez.